You're sitting on something. You felt it your whole life. This quiet conviction that there's a version of you that hasn't shown up yet. A talent, a side of you nobody's met. A spark that's supposed to catch fire one day and finally prove you were never just ordinary. And here's the part almost nobody says out loud. The part that decides everything. The part I want to lay out in a way you've probably never heard it put before. That spark you've been protecting, most people guard it so carefully they take it to the grave without ever using it. Not because they didn't have the talent, because of one specific way of thinking that separates the people who break out from the people who stay stuck their whole lives. And it has almost nothing to do with being smart. Let me be honest with you for a second. Most of us grow up carrying this sense of being a little different, a little special, like there's something coiled up inside just waiting for the right moment. But the years go by, and that something stays exactly where it started, unused. Sometimes you don't even notice it's still there. You pour yourself into other people's projects. You save someone else's deadline. You help build someone else's company, dig up someone else's treasure, make someone else look brilliant in a meeting. And you, the real you, the thing you actually wanted to do, keeps getting shoved to the back of the line. Later, you tell yourself, not right now. Once I get a bit more experience, once I clear these tasks off my plate, once things calm down, then I'll finally focus on me. Let me spoil the ending. You won't. There'll be no energy left and no time left because work just expands to fill whatever space you give it. And you need to make peace with that uncomfortable fact right now, today, or you'll spend your whole life running toward goals that were never yours to begin with. So here's the split. While one group of people is breaking their backs chasing somebody else's dream, another group has quietly given up. Maybe given up is too harsh. They've accepted it. They've decided life already dealt them a losing hand, that nothing big is coming, that the ceiling is the ceiling. But you know what's strange? Both groups, the exhausted ones and the resigned ones, run on the exact same fuel. They're both waiting for the moment, the lucky break, the person who finally notices them. The day when, out of nowhere, it just works. That day doesn't come. The dream fades one shade at a time. The ideas die quietly in the Notes app on your phone. The ones you typed at midnight feeling like a genius. And slowly, without ever choosing to, you get used to living on the lowest setting. And then comes the most dangerous thought of all. You start telling yourself, well, this is probably just how it is for everybody. And if it's how it is for everybody, then it must be fine. It must be normal. It is not normal. Because right next to you, in the same economy, under the same pressure, with the same 24 hours, there are people climbing, people stepping onto a completely different level of life. And here's what you have to understand. They're not smarter than you. They're not more gifted. I've sat across from enough of them to tell you that and mean it. So why does it work for them and not for the rest? Why? I found my answer after spending roughly 100 hours in deep conversation with billionaires. Some of it on the record, a lot of it off, one-on-one. The kind of talk where the polish comes off. 100 hours of brutally honest, sometimes painful, often completely unexpected conversation with people who didn't just stack up a pile of money, but actually became who they were capable of becoming. And the longer I listened, the clearer one thing got. They think differently. Not because they're geniuses. I want to be precise about that. It's not raw IQ, it's the angle. They look at the same picture you and I look at, and they see it from a different spot. They rank their priorities differently. They treat money differently. They make decisions differently. They treat life itself differently. That's the whole reason I started having these conversations in the first place, here on Brad Walker. I wanted to understand how the people who actually move mountains think, what's running in the background of their heads, how their judgment is wired. And over all those hours, I watched a canyon open up between them and the people who, year after year, never move an inch, who just dream, who just doubt, who just wait. Today, I'm going to walk you through where that difference actually lives. And I genuinely believe a few of these realizations can split your life into a before and an after. I'm also going to spend a good chunk of today on money in particular, because this is where almost everyone gets tangled up. By the end, you'll be able to drop a lot of the baggage you've been carrying, see clearly what's been holding you back, reorder your priorities, and find your way back to the goals that were yours all along. Okay, here we go. First, let me kill a myth. So many people dream of becoming a billionaire. It's treated like the ultimate trophy, the badge that says you made it. Especially when you're young, it's the fantasy. For people building startups, the dream is a unicorn, a company worth more than $1 billion. And here's a little reality check most people skip right past. Building a unicorn does not make you a billionaire, because by the time the company is worth that much, the slice you personally still own is usually pretty small. But building one and getting your name on a Forbes list, that's the dream that gets passed around. I'll put myself on the table here. As a teenager, I used to flip through those business magazines for hours. I loved the covers, the huge numbers, the whole mythology of it. It lit me up. I honestly believed the entire point of being an entrepreneur was to become a billionaire, to pile up an enormous amount of money, and I carried that belief around for a long time. So let me actually sit with it for a moment. Do you even grasp what that number is? Just so you can picture it, $1 billion stacked in $100 bills weighs about 10 tons. 10 tons of paper. And here's another one that makes it land. If you took $1 billion and counted it one single dollar at a time, $1 a second, no breaks, no sleep, no eating, it would take you 115 days of non-stop counting to get to the end. When I was young, I never stopped to ask the obvious questions. Now, I ask them constantly. So let me ask you, if you've got that idea sitting in your head, the dream of becoming a billionaire, of earning a full $1 billion, here's the question that matters. Why? What is it actually for? Personally, for you. Because here's the part of reality almost nobody warns you about. You hit a point shockingly early where you have enough money for everything you actually need. Sure, at the start, every bump in income is loud. You feel it in your body. Say you're pulling in $3,000 a month. You can cover the basics. A modest apartment, a meal out somewhere casual, maybe once a month. You take the bus or drive something old and reliable. Then you climb to $8,000 a month. Now it's a nicer apartment. Now the restaurant isn't a once-a-month thing. It's regular. You start buying clothes that aren't just functional. And if you're a little careful, if you trim here and save there, you can fly somewhere for a real vacation a couple times a year. That's the low base effect. Early on, the more you earn, the better and more comfortable your life gets, and you feel every dollar of it. Then you keep climbing. The jump from, say, $30,000 a month to $150,000 is enormous, and you feel that too. But then something genuinely strange happens. When you cross into something like $200,000 or $300,000 a month, your day-to-day life basically stops changing. And here's why. At that level, what do you already have? You own your home. You've got a place out of the city. You've got a car, maybe a second and a third for different days of the week. Your family is completely taken care of. The household runs smoothly. You travel whenever you want. You stay in whatever hotels you like. Fly however you like. Every major comfort life can hand you, short of the truly absurd, like spraying champagne on a yacht for the cameras, is already within reach. So at a big income, but not an insane one, every single thing you wanted gets checked off remarkably fast. And then the question shows up and it doesn't leave. Okay, now what? This is exactly where one of the most important things I ever picked up from those conversations comes in. The people who built fortunes measured in billions told me over and over that money stopped motivating them ridiculously early. I kept hearing the same thing. Sure, when we were starting out, we hyped ourselves up with houses and cars. We bought the helicopter, the thing that sets your blood on fire when you're young and hungry. But then you need something else. You need new meaning. And if you actually think it through, what genuinely lights up the lives of people sitting on $1 billion isn't the pile of cash, and isn't the ability to buy every shiny toy on the shelf. It's the scale of the problems they get to work on every single day. Because when you control real resources, you can do almost anything. You can start research centers. You can fund medical breakthroughs. You can back charities, sports teams, racing programs, and yes, all the way up to firing rockets at Mars. The inspiration was never in the number. It was in the size of the thing they got to attempt. So here's the reframe I want you to walk away with. Don't go looking for inspiration in an amount of money. Go looking for it in the scale of the work you actually want to put your hands on. Because that's a far more durable engine. It's healthier for you, it's better for the people around you, and it gives you a much saner relationship with reality. A number you can blow in a weekend will never hold you the way a real mission can. Let me tell you about something good that came out of exactly this idea. A few years back, I felt the pull to build something that connects people, a real community for folks who want to understand money, markets, and how the modern financial world actually works under the hood. The point was never to charge admission. No paywall, no funnel quietly trying to sell you a course, no upsell. Just a genuine space, a knowledge base, an ongoing conversation, real learning, real people showing up every day. It's one of the most rewarding things I do, and it grew out of this exact shift, from chasing a number to chasing a scale of contribution. Even if you're brand new to all of it, the value is in the room, the people, the shared work. That's what a mission feels like from the inside, and it's closer to you on a small scale today than you think. Now let me kill a second money myth. Here's how almost all of us think. If $1 billion landed in my account tomorrow, obviously I'd be happier. Every one of us has flirted with that thought, especially when something in life feels like it's missing. But let me tell you something that isn't exactly a secret, it's just rarely said out loud. Along with that billion comes a staggering pile of new headaches. It starts with the boring stuff. How do you store it? How do you spread it out? In a world this shaky, how do you actually protect those assets, defend that capital? You can't just walk into a bank and set it down. The bank could fail tomorrow, and suddenly you're holding nothing. So now you're carrying an enormous weight, an enormous responsibility, and it never sets down. And here's the part that really gets people. Right now, when you make a move in life, in business, anywhere, sure, you carry responsibility too. But the cost of being wrong has a size. For one person, a mistake costs $100. For another, $1,000. For another, $10,000 or $100,000. But up there, the cost of a single bad call starts getting measured in tens, even hundreds of millions. Just sit with that for 1 second. Really picture it. The whole weight of that resting on your shoulders. Now, imagine trying to fall asleep at night knowing every bit of it is balanced on you. And here's the thing. You can only feel this in your fingertips when you're sitting across from one of these people one-on-one, and in 99 cases out of 100, they can't say any of it in public. But privately, face-to-face, they tell you about the problems, the fears, the weight they carry, and you start to actually feel it. And only then does it hit you how few human beings on this planet could carry that kind of load. A handful. And if you look at it honestly, here's the wild part. A lot of you are quietly blocking your own growth. You're sabotaging your own income, your own career, your own business, your own shot at new opportunities for one buried reason. Your brain is deliberately keeping you on the level you're already on, specifically so it doesn't have to take on more weight, more responsibility. It's a protective reflex, plain and simple. Your mind is guarding your own nervous system. That's it. That's the whole mechanism. So here's the lesson I pulled out of all those private conversations. When you look at some very rich person, at the yachts, the planes, the whole glittering surface, and you feel that flash of envy at the beautiful life, you have to train yourself to immediately ask one thing. What's sitting on the other side of the scale? Because the amount of money is always tied directly to the amount of problems and responsibility you take on with it. And the lives of most of these people, and I know dozens of them personally, many of whom have sat right across from me, do not look like freedom. There's no waking up and thinking, today I feel like working, but tomorrow I'll skip it and fly off somewhere. No, they accepted the basic rules of the game, and they can't opt out of those rules anymore. In fact, here's the trap. Even if one of these people wakes up tomorrow and says, I'm done, I'm exhausted, I want to downshift, I don't want the business, I don't want the capital, I just want to change the rhythm of my life. They can't, because their partners, their investors, their clients, the people on the other side of every deal, all of it has quietly taken their life hostage. The person becomes the servant of the machine they built. They end up looking after the resources they created instead of those resources looking after them. So in those youthful conversations, the big round numbers, the billions, they sound romantic. They make you want to reach. They make you want to chase. But you always have to ask the second question. And what's on the other side of the scale? What problems? What weight? So let me put a real question to you. Maybe you don't actually need as much as you think you want. Maybe you don't need 10 billion. Maybe you don't need 1 billion. Maybe you don't even need 100 million. Sit with that for a second and honestly, drop it in the comments. How much do you actually think you need to live the life you genuinely want? Not the number you'd brag about, the number that would be enough. I read these, and the spread of answers always tells me something about where people really are. So tell me yours, and tell me why. Now, it might sound like I'm talking you out of wanting money. I'm not. It's the opposite, actually. I just want everyone listening today to have a crystal clear picture and to be brutally honest with themselves about what's really sitting behind all of it. Not the fairy tales from the magazines or the books, not the gorgeous, frictionless snapshots from social media. The real, lived experience of people who walked the road and learned what it actually costs. And I happen to have this fairly rare spot in life where I get access to these people, where I can sit with them and ask and listen. And it's inspiring, genuinely. But it's also a little frightening when you see what lives behind the curtain the public never gets to look behind. These people already made their choice. And what I want to offer you right now is the chance to make a conscious one of your own. Let me run a little scenario by you. Imagine you promised yourself that every single day at exactly 6 in the evening, you go for a run. You're getting in shape. You're building the habit. You're taking care of your body. Good. Now the very next day, out of nowhere, you get asked to stay late at the office. And it doesn't matter what your situation is. Say you're an employee and you want to climb the ladder. Your boss walks over and says, "Hey, listen, here's the deal. We've got to finish the budget. We need the reports done. The month is closing. So we're staying late tonight and getting it done." Or version 2, you own the business. You're sitting in your own office and you realize a project is on fire. Your people aren't closing it. It needs you, personally, your attention, right here, right now. And remember, you had a 6 o'clock run on the calendar. And in that exact moment, the second you sit back down at your desk, the second you've already given up the run, your phone rings. It's your spouse asking you to pick up your kid from daycare. 6 o'clock, I can't make it. The sitter is sick. It has to be you. Now here's the question. Everything has landed on the same hour. The run, the work, the kid. What do you choose? And what do you let go of? Why am I asking you this? Because almost always, if we're honest, we want all of it, all at once. We want the achievement and the health and the family and the friends and the vacations and the mountains and the money, the whole spread at the same time. And what do we actually do with that? Especially when we sit down to write those gorgeous plans for the year, right before New Year's, or right after, or on our birthday. We fill out a wheel of goals across every single category of life, the way we were taught, and we tell ourselves we'll push all of them forward at once. And what actually happens? This is something I understood with total clarity from talking to people who built large companies and earned serious money. In practice, there's constant competition. And I don't just mean competition with your business rivals or the people in the next office. I mean competition between your own personal goals, the ones you set for yourself. They fight each other for the same hours, the same energy, the same you. So here's the conclusion I really want to land. The truth is, you can reach almost any goal in life if you actually focus on it. But here's the catch. You cannot reach 100 goals at once. It's not possible. So when you're making the genuinely big calls in your life, you have to be honest about your real priority and lay out the order of your actions, not just for today, not just for this week, but across years. You have to look yourself in the eye and ask what actually matters more to you right now. What's your single biggest goal? Do you want to make money? Do you want a six-pack? Do you want to build a family? Do you want to spend incredible time with your friends at a bar on a ski slope somewhere? What's the main thing? Where does the focus go? Because here's the pattern. Almost every enormous result in life is reached precisely by cutting away the excess. You can see it clearly in the great entrepreneurs who poured their whole lives into the business, who bet everything, who aimed all their focus at one single area of life. And it's no secret to any of you, you all know dozens of examples where founders sacrificed their health, their family, their friends, their travel, their hobbies, the color and texture of a full life. And from my conversations with elite athletes, figure skaters, soccer players, all of them, I heard the same line over and over. I put everything on the line. There was nothing in my life except training, morning to night. And so when my career ended, I woke up in a world I didn't understand, where I had nothing else, because I'd never built anything else. And the question that leaves you with is simple. Are you ready for that? Answer yourself honestly. I know I'm throwing a lot of questions at you today. I think that's exactly the point. It's a rare, good excuse to actually ask yourself the real one. Did I even choose the right road? Or have I spent the last 5, 10, maybe even 20 years sprinting after things I don't actually want, toward goals that were never really mine? Because here's how it often goes. A person chases big money, and I keep coming back react to money today on purpose because it deserves the attention. But underneath, what that person actually wants isn't the endless race at all. It's a calmer rhythm. They'd happily earn less in exchange for living at their own tempo, savoring what's in front of them, making something, creating, building things with their hands or their imagination. And that doesn't always come with a big paycheck, and not everyone needs it to. And that is completely, perfectly fine. It's just a different life strategy. The trick is to check your watch against the right clock, and to do it before 20 years go by. Which brings us to a logical question. How do you even know whether you're on your path or whether you turned off it a long time ago and you're now walking down some street that's carrying you somewhere you never wanted to go, somewhere with no trace of the life you actually dreamed about? There's a beautifully simple technique I picked up from someone who built a giant company, more than 10,000 employees. Here's the idea. Ask yourself one thing. Would you want to live the last 2 years of your life over again? Not the last week, not the last month. And here's why the time frame matters so much. Very often, you hit a genuinely rotten month, a black streak, a pile of work lands on you, things go sideways at home, little disasters, the weather's miserable, you're not sleeping, you catch a cold, and the whole thing just stacks up. And if you ask yourself in that moment, do I want to relive this month? Of course the answer's no. You're fried. In that moment, it can feel like your entire life is falling apart, flying off the rails. And naturally, you don't want to live through that again. But that's not honest reflection, because then time passes and you forget you were exhausted, that you were sick. It's over. You recovered. Everything's good again, and life is humming along. So you can never, ever judge your life by today's mood. Your mood, as you well know, swings wildly. You drank a little too much last night, slept badly, woke up with your hormones screaming. Of course you feel miserable. The next morning you wake up, you go for a run, you hit the gym, you eat a great breakfast, you get good work done, and naturally, you feel like $1,000,000. So you always need the long view. You always need to look at the whole route, not the single step. And 2 years is that long view. So if when you ask yourself the question, you'd gladly relive the last 2 years, and you say it with real joy, then you're fine. You're absolutely on the right path, pointed in the right direction. But if the answer is no, then it's absolutely time to change something. Because a long look back like that is far more reliable, far more useful than any in-the-moment reflection, which, as I just explained, can lie to you. And the beautiful thing is this method works in literally every area of life. Work. The last 2 years. Do I love it? Did I grow? Did I get the promotion? Did the business expand? Am I getting real satisfaction? Or is it all going to hell? Do I get up every single morning not wanting to walk in the door? Relationships. Same test. The projects you pour yourself into. The sport you train. Does it fit you or not? Do you want to go deeper into it or not? So please, actually do this exercise. I promise you, a great deal will fall into place. And share some of your honest, deepest takeaways in the comments. I think it'll get at least a little clearer where you are and where you actually want to go. And then, as always, it all runs into the wall of opportunity. And you'll say, I've got a great idea, but I don't have the money to make it real. And here, once again, is a fascinating thing. Most people, holding an idea in their heads, sit and wait for the perfect moment, the magical partner, the investor who drops out of the sky, or just some miracle where the whole thing assembles itself. But here's one of the biggest revelations I ever had, and I remember exactly where I heard it. It came from the founder of a major financial company, and the line was this: the world is the complete opposite of what you think. There's far more money in the world than there are people you can actually trust that money to. Think about that. The number one problem for any investor on earth is where to put the money. They've got capital, liquid capital, and every investor is permanently on the hunt for worthy people and worthy projects to hand it to. No investor is out there looking for some random idea that's somehow supposed to be worth $1 billion. It's always a combination. The right idea, the right responsible founders, the right team, the right approach, the right track record, the right history of mistakes and lessons. And here's the kicker: finding not just an idea, but a human being who'll carry that idea all the way to a result. Or, at the very least, pour 99% of their effort into doing it is almost impossible. What does it take? Work ethic, total commitment, responsibility, the willingness to dig in and solve absolutely any problem that shows up, no matter how ugly. So here's the thing. If you've got an idea and you build those qualities into yourself, the ones I'm describing right now, you become worth your weight in gold. And every investor in the world will come hunting for you, offering money on whatever terms you want. So here's the important shift. You have to stop believing the only problem is money. You need to turn your attention onto yourself and your own qualities and become the kind of person money can be trusted to. Behind a person like that, investors will line up to follow. But, and this matters, don't fall into the next trap. And I think I actually know where it comes from. It's the romance we soaked up from movies, from shows, from magazines. Most people who want to create something want to invent something brilliant, something that has never existed in the world before. And huge numbers of people burn an enormous amount of energy, time, money, and resources chasing that one original invention. So let me hand you a statistical secret. If we look, once more, at a Forbes list, you'll be genuinely surprised to find that the overwhelming majority of the world's billionaires didn't create anything new at all. Sure, inside their businesses, some clever know-how popped up here and there, but those were process improvements. Their actual fortunes were not built on inventions. And you'll say to me, but what about Jobs, Musk, Zuckerberg? Of course, there are exceptions. There are people who created genuinely breakthrough technologies that reshaped whole industries. But I'm not talking about the exceptions. I'm talking about the main body of people. You can go pull this yourself. Take an AI tool and ask it for a breakdown. Take 1,000 of the world's billionaires, the top 1,000, and look at the businesses where they actually made their money. And I think you'll be surprised, because most of them built clear, systematic businesses. Retail, products, clothing, factories, logistics, the unglamorous machinery of the real economy. So why couldn't everyone else pull it off? Sure, there's an enormous element of luck, timing, circumstance, all of it. But still, what they did, starting their businesses and growing them, was simply this. They did the thing they did just a little bit better than the people around them, a little better than their competitors. So, in my view, the real secret isn't inventing some novelty. It's doing the thing you're capable of, the thing the market actually needs, just a touch better than your competition does it. Let me use developers as an example. A developer builds homes, and in today's world, there are developers everywhere. Let's be honest. So how do they compete? If you put together a slightly more interesting project, a slightly better location, a nicer finish, better service, a stronger design, a few clever touches nobody else in the business has, then naturally, you win. Same with the restaurant business, an example everybody gets instantly. Whatever you dream up today, even some supernatural novelty, you're not going to make 10 times more than everyone else on it. You'll make 5% more. 10? Fine. 20% more than the others. But if you approach the whole thing systematically, and every next restaurant you open is just a touch better in quality than the rest, a touch more clever, a touch better located, and you build a whole portfolio where everything is just a little better everywhere, then over the long haul, you can grow that into a huge global company that hands you an entire fortune. So here's the real life hack. Just do your work 10% better than your competitors do theirs, and then repeat that over and over and over. And you start to see that success, broadly, isn't manna from heaven, and it isn't some secret know-how. Success is systematic work on quality. If you keep doing it better than the others, you will absolutely come out ahead in your field. It's almost boring how reliable it is, and that's exactly why most people skip right past it looking for something flashier. And now, the final thing for today, and honestly, maybe the most important, because without it, every other step we've talked about would be useless. You know this already. You can lie under a warm blanket on a soft mattress and listen to motivational videos forever, but all of it is pointless if you don't actually start moving. So here's the closing thought. Very often, when our life comes together in a comfortable, pleasant, genuinely good way, we try to save it, to freeze ourselves exactly in the spot we're in right now. The family is solid. We love the apartment. We fly somewhere nice for vacation. Work is fine. There's money. We spend a little, we save a little. Everything is dialed in. Our brain is sitting in maximally comfortable conditions, and we say, okay, this is where we lock it in. This is enough for me. And that is the single most dangerous thing there is. Because staying frozen in a comfortable spot, trying to preserve it, is genuinely risky. The world today changes so fast, far faster than we do, far faster than we can even manage to adapt. So trying to stay parked in that so-called comfort zone in today's reality costs you far more than the readiness to step out of it early, even before you feel ready. What do I mean? Picture this. You've got ideal, mouth-watering conditions. Job number one is to not stop, not even for a second. Take the resources that just showed up and the opportunities you now have and run forward. Get stronger. Keep growing. Keep growing. Keep growing. Because in today's world, just to stay in the same place, you have to run up a downward escalator. You know the feeling. Stand still on it and it carries you straight back down. But here's the crucial piece. Even if everything in your life has come together beautifully, when you yourself make the call to step back out of the comfort zone, to walk into the unknown, to grow, to try something new, you're making that choice on your own terms. You're walking into growth and you're in control of the situation. So what happens if you don't? In our fast-moving world, stability simply doesn't exist. It's not there. There's no point even looking for it. And if you freeze in place, then pretty soon, life itself just shakes you out. You get flung into the unknown anyway, ejected from your own comfort zone. And, most importantly, you lose control. Because it didn't happen because you chose it, because you wanted to try something new and open up fresh possibilities. It happened because life delivered you a swift, specific kick. And here's the difference. When you walk into the unknown on your own, you're usually ready. You're looking around, you're alert, your hand is on the pulse, you're trying to control everything. But when life delivers the kick, like I said, you simply have no power over what's happening, and you're forced to claw your way out of whatever just landed on you. And make no mistake, there's no question of whether this happens. It absolutely will. The only question is when. That's exactly why it's so important to constantly create new challenges for yourself, to constantly go looking for something new, something unknown. Then you stay adaptive, flexible, experienced, ready for anything. And if you don't, life will very soon build you a deeply unpleasant set of conditions where you'll be forced to become flexible anyway, except you'll spend far more energy, far more strength, far more emotion and nerves getting there. So before I let you go, let me leave you with the practical version of all this, framed as next steps worth considering, not orders from me. First, ask yourself the honest money question. How much would actually be enough? And chase the scale of work you care about rather than a number on a screen. Second, pick your one real priority and put your goals in an order instead of trying to win at 100 of them at once. Third, run the 2-year test on every major area of your life and trust that long view over today's mood. Fourth, stop waiting on money and start becoming the person money and trust naturally flow toward. And fifth, choose to leave your comfort zone on your own terms, while you still hold the controls. None of this is professional or financial advice, and I'm not a licensed expert handing down prescriptions. It's one person's honest read on what the road actually looks like. So take what fits you and test it against your own life. That's it for me today. We talked about the things that matter: money, focus, choice, and action. Tell me in the comments what landed, what you're taking with you, what actually hit home, because I genuinely love reading them. And if any of this was worth something to you, do me a favor and hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. We're working our way toward 1,000 subscribers, and every single like, every kind word, every bit of feedback truly helps. It's the fuel that keeps me building and making new things for you. Thanks for spending this time with me. I'll see you in the next one.